Alone in the Dark. I was expecting you to do segue, so my apologies. Um, so basically, there's a power outage, and a bunch of psychopaths, whatever you want to call them, sort of break out of the mental institution, and they track down a doctor who they believe killed the previous doctor. And obviously these people are insane, and they are also violent, so they wreak quite a bit of havoc. And that's honestly pretty much the movie. It's a slasher from the early 80s. It's a somewhat simple plot. I'm personally a big fan of this one, mainly because, like Chucky said, there's some really great performances here. Just seeing Clausen's in his role just sort of cracks me up. Especially, Charlie. There's a scene in the movie and he's trying to talk logically to these people, and they just have no interest in what he has to say. Um, so I mean, and this, other great performances too. I think one of the most common critiques of this movie is that it's somewhat slow moving. That's something that is probably true. It takes about maybe 50 minutes for things to really pick up. But I think because of the performances and just the story in general, just the 80s feel that I really like, I really do have a problem with this one. But before I get much more into it, Chucky, what were your thoughts?
I actually, I think maybe once many years ago I tried to watch this, but I think this is considered my first time viewing just recently for this show because I've heard about the movies for so long. I just never really found the right time to watch it, and then I got forced to watch it this week since I selected it. No, see I thought it was okay, and probably my biggest problem with the movie is what you just said earlier about how it's just a bit slow moving. The second half of the movie is certainly pretty decent. That really got things going as the movie went along. There are some decent scenes earlier in the movie as well, but probably most notably the fat guy talking to the little girl. For some reason that stood out to me. Just, that was a pretty creepy scene, I thought. But yeah, it just took a little while to get going, and I guess that just didn't set the right tone for the movie for me. I don't know if I would watch this again, or sit through the first 50 minutes just to watch the last 40 minutes. It was okay.
Out of interest, how did you feel about the Sick Fox music?
Well, I mean, it sounded like some other punk music from like the 70s and stuff. So I listened to bands like Misfits, and it did kind of remind me of a lot of like punk music kind of from that time. So yeah, no, it was fine. I couldn't really, I didn't really pay attention to like the lyrics or anything, so I'm not sure if there was anything.
It was some quality stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the songs went up, chop, chop, chop up your mother, and that's some good stuff. That reminds me, I actually really liked the sister of the main character. Her name, off the top of my head, was I think Tony. The name of the character. She was played by Lee Taylor Allen. She was sort of a new wave punk girl, and I thought she was pretty fun. She wasn't necessarily important to the story, but it was just one of those personalities that you sort of enjoy, especially comparing her with the younger girl, like who is a very I don't know, I guess precocious young girl, who is probably one of the most collected throughout the movie, to be honest. So I don't know, it's one of those things where the characters make a somewhat, I wouldn't go as far to say tedious, but I've heard that word used to describe this movie before. I think the characters make it work really well. And actually, I was going to ask you, out of the four maniacs, which one was your favorite?
To be honest, I don't think I have a favorite. I mean, there's none that I disliked, but at the same time, none of them kind of threw the movie over the top for me either. So maybe the Preacher one.
I've always been a Preacher guy myself. Like, the guy has such an intense way about him. Not that the Jack Palance character doesn't.
Yeah.
And also, one thing that always stuck with me about this movie is toward the end, there's a bit of a plot twist that when I first saw this movie, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I think to myself, oh hey, that was somewhat unexpected. That's sort of cool, and even seeing it now, I still think it's a decently effective, if not somewhat I don't know, maybe somewhat illogical, but I still thought it was a pretty effective twist, and I enjoyed it. This also a scene I wanted to bring up, in which the small bit of nudity in this movie from the babysitter, whose name is Bunky, played by a young woman named Carol Levy or Levy, I'm not sure which, but there's a scene in which one of the maniacs was under the bed stabbing up with a knife, and she was, of course, under the mattress trying to avoid getting stabbed by said knife. And that was probably in my opinion, one of the most suspenseful scenes, along with what you mentioned earlier, the one with the child molester talking to the little girl. That was I thought pretty solid, because as an audience, you sort of like the girl, or at least I always like the girl, and you just hope nothing happens to her, because you easily know there's no adult characters around besides the child molester, and she's not in a good situation. So I'm happy. I don't know. That's a scene that always stuck with me also.
Yeah. Well, when you mentioned the name Bunky, it was kind of funny, because just before I watched this movie, I had rewatched Hide and Go Shriek, and one of the main actresses in that movie, her name's Bunky, so it's just kind of odd. I've never really heard anyone with that name. Then I come across a character with that name and an actress with that name in 2 movies in a row. It's just weird.
Maybe it was a popular name back in, I guess these people were probably born in the 50s or 60s, so I'm going to name my first daughter Bunky if I have a daughter, so...
Well, hey, it's a lot better than what some people are naming their children these days. Jeez.
That's the true horror. And also, I just wanted to reiterate... Actually, I wanted to say 2 things. One, and if you are a big horror fan, you probably noticed this when watching the movie. But there's a small scene with a receptionist near the beginning of the movie. And that woman is played by...
Lin Shaye.
Lin Shaye, who was also the teacher in A Nightmare on Elm Street, which came out just 2 years later, also New Line Cinema.
I like how you point out, like, one of her smaller role movies, rather, even though it's a fairly big movie, but, I mean, she's been the lead in a lot of big movies as well, like the Insidious movies.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually completely forgot she was in Insidious until just now. Pretty much the only thing I know of from is her small cameos. And, Nightmare on Elm Street is one of those movies I've probably seen the most. I've actually probably seen that one more than Halloween. So, for me, it's like my go-to when I think about that character or that woman. So, I mean, no offense to her other mini roles.
She's in a lot of movies, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. 204 credits right now on IMDb, which is, that's not unimpressive. And I just also wanted to say again how much I like Donald Pleasence in this movie. He's sort of carefree in a way. I think he's a really fun character. And seeing like this straight-laced psychiatrist try to get along with Donald Pleasence, it just cracks me up. Especially when he's just hugging the guy and he's just looking back like, what the hell do I do now?
Yeah, I don't mind Donald Pleasence, but I think I mean, in this movie, I thought his character was okay. It's just because I like Halloween, but I don't love the Halloween movies, so maybe the fact that you also love Halloween, somehow that plays into your enjoyment of him even more in this movie. I'm not sure, but I just don't have that Halloween connection with Donald Pleasence, and
I mean, he was in plenty of other great movies too, The Flash and the Fiends from 1960.
yeah, he's been in other things, but I mean, the one movie, if I had to name the first movie that jumps to mind, I always go to Halloween.
Yeah, it's one of the unfortunate facts that you do not love Halloween. But
I mean, 8 out of 10's not anything to sniff at for Halloween, but you know, I just don't love it. Yeah.
yeah, so Alone in the Dark is a movie that I've seen maybe twice before. It's been quite some time since I've last seen it, and it just maybe it's a bit slower going, but it has everything I look for in a movie. You know, I find myself having a pretty good time with it. There's just a lot of, you know, characters that I enjoy, and just it's a movie I have fun with. So I gave this one an 8.5, and I'm going to round it up to a 9 out of 10.
Impressive. I'm going to just for now. I'm going to give it a 6, and I mean, yeah, like I said, it does move a little slowly, and that for me probably had a big impact on my rating. But I mean, there's some decent performances in it, and it does get quite it gets more enjoyable as it moves along. So, and the end, the last 20-30 minutes is pretty decent. So, I can see myself potentially giving this a 7 after another rewatch, maybe another time when I'm really in the mood for it. But for now, that's what my score is, 6 out of 10.